the first president's untold struggles. At the dawn of a new nation, one man stood alone, a leader thrust into chaos of a fragile dream. He was called to guide a fledgling country through its most perilous moment. But the struggles he faced were far from what the world expected. George Washington, the first president of the United States, became a symbol of strength and unity. But behind the polished facade, there was a man tormented by doubt and loss. His leadership was born not from a desire for power, but from an unwavering commitment to the survival of a nation on the brink of collapse. The story of Washington's presidency is not just one of triumph. It's a story of personal sacrifice, crushing pressure, and a battle to maintain his own humanity while carrying the weight of a nation. Few know the true extent of the challenges he faced, or how these struggles shaped the United States into what it is today. As we dig deeper, you'll see how Washington's journey was one of continual sacrifice, his private demons battling against his public duty. He had led soldiers through war, endured personal tragedies, but his greatest test was yet to come. The presidency would demand more than he ever imagined, more than anyone could have prepared him for. And that's where our story begins. Washington's struggles weren't just political. As the first president, he was crafting an entirely new role, one that had never existed before. Every decision he made was a risk, not just for himself, but for the survival of the country he helped create. While the world saw a symbol of power and resolve, few understood the weight of the decisions weighing on his shoulders. Washington wasn't just dealing with the challenges of a fledgling nation. He was battling with the loneliness of leadership, the constant pressure to make decisions that would define an entire country. At the heart of his struggle was a question: should America be led by a powerful central government or remain fractured, each state in control of its own fate? The outcome of this battle would determine the future of the United States. But Washington was not prepared for the isolation that came with his position. He didn't have the luxury of advice. His decisions were his alone. On top of that, Washington was haunted by a personal loss that would affect every decision he made. His beloved stepchildren, Martha's children from her previous marriage, had grown into influential figures of society. But Washington never truly felt at home in the mansion he occupied, always feeling the absence of the family he had hoped to forge. Yet, despite the loneliness, he continued to stand as a pillar. His leadership during the Constitutional Convention, when a nation teetered on the brink of chaos, was nothing short of legendary. Yet behind the scenes, the man they revered was grappling with doubt. What nobody knew, what few even imagined, was that Washington's true struggle was not about politics, but about his personal demons, and the pressure to carry the future of America alone. As Washington's presidency continued, his greatest test would come in the form of the nation's greatest threat: a divided people. The fragile bonds that held America together were beginning to fray. Internal conflicts were simmering, fueled by disagreements over the future of the government he had worked so hard to build. One of the most pressing issues was the rise of political factions. The formation of the nation's first political parties, led by the ambitious Thomas Jefferson and the calculating Alexander Hamilton, threatened to tear Washington's vision apart. Jefferson championed states' rights and the power of the common man, while Hamilton pushed for a strong federal government that could shape the nation's future. Washington was caught in the middle, struggling to mediate between these two powerful forces, neither of whom truly trusted him. But the true conflict wasn't just about politics. It was about Washington's own fear of failure. His every move was scrutinized, every word analyzed. He had no template to follow, no predecessors to guide him. The weight of the decisions he was making for America seemed overwhelming at times. Yet he pressed forward, unable to show his doubts to those who relied on him. One of his most difficult decisions came in 1793, when France and Britain were locked in war. Both nations sought Washington's favor, but his neutral stance infuriated both sides. The pressure to choose a side was intense, but Washington knew that the future of America could not be determined by foreign powers. He faced harsh criticism from his own countrymen for the decision, a decision that seemed to betray both his allies and his enemies. Washington's leadership was now questioned at every turn. Was he too cautious, too removed from the passions of the people? His popularity began to erode, and yet he remained steadfast, believing that the long-term survival of the nation was worth the personal sacrifices. What Washington didn't realize, though, was that in his quest to build a strong, united nation, he was unknowingly sowing the seeds of division that would plague America for generations. The struggle for unity, the fight for control, and the weight of his own doubts were all converging into a single, inevitable moment, one that would change everything. As Washington approached the end of his second term, the pressure of his presidency had taken its toll. He was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The dreams he had worked so hard to build were now in danger of unraveling, and the sacrifices he had made for the country weighed heavily on his soul. Despite the toll, Washington's most defining moment was still to come. In 1796, he made a decision that no one could have anticipated. He chose to step down. In an era where rulers clung to power, where kings and monarchs held sway for generations, Washington's voluntary resignation was nothing short of revolutionary. By stepping down, he did not just preserve his own integrity. He preserved the very idea of democracy. Washington's departure set a precedent that no president would seek to stay in office for life, a crucial move that would define the future of the presidency. He understood that the country needed stability, but it also needed the freedom to grow, to evolve without the shadow of a single ruler. Yet, even as he left office, his struggle was not over. Washington's farewell address, his final gift to the nation, contained a warning that would echo throughout the history of America. Avoid political parties and foreign entanglements. His vision for the nation, though deeply personal, was one of unity and peace. The consequences of Washington's leadership were not just felt in his time. His decisions laid the groundwork for the struggles that would define America's future. His steps toward democracy, however flawed, were the foundation on which the country would grow. And though he could never see the end of the story he helped begin, his legacy was one of enduring courage, strength, and an unyielding devotion to the idea of liberty. What happened to Washington was more than history. It was a blueprint for the American experiment. His journey shows us the power of perseverance, the cost of leadership, and the legacy of those who dare to dream. So what do you think? Are we repeating the same struggles today? Or have we learned from the trials of those who came before us?